Hi, and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Tim. I upload new videos every week all about running. Hey, if you want to skip to the part of the video that's of most interest to you, I made it pretty easy. All you got to do is open the description and then click on the timestamp for the part of the video that you want to watch, and it'll take you right there. Today, I'm looking at two maximum cushion trail shoes, one by Nike, their Pegasus Trail 2, and the new offering from New Balance, it's their Fresh Foam More V1 trail shoe. I'm going to take these out on the trail out of my state park, and then when I get back, we'll sit down, we'll talk about these shoes, we'll compare them, see which one is right for you. So what a fantastic run I had out at the state park. This is my favorite time of the year to be out trail running. The weather is perfect, it's nice and cool, and the colors are just absolutely gorgeous. So for this comparison video, I'm going to be focused primarily on fit and performance, but if you want a more in-depth look at either one of these shoes, I put a link in the description below. Now there is a difference in the cost of these shoes. The Nike Trail 2 comes in at $130 US, while the New Balance V1 costs $165. Both of these max cushion trail shoes weigh over 10 ounces. Nike is the heavier of the two shoes. It weighs 10.8 ounces on my scales, or 303 grams, while the V1 by New Balance weighs 10.3 ounces or 292 grams. And those weights are, of course, for my size, which is a men's size 9. Now, both of these shoes are considered to be a road to trail shoe, and neither one has a rock plate. Looking at the upper on both of these shoes, I had plenty of room in the toe box on each of them. I felt really comfortable that way. And they both have lots of perforations around that toe box area. Now, Nike, they continued their outsole rubber up around that toe box to add some durability, while New Balance has a plastic overlay. The biggest difference is the material. Both are water repellent. Nike is more of a cloth feeling up around that area, while the New Balance has a more rubberized feeling to it. But each have plenty of extra material or overlays around through that midfoot back to the heel, and that's to protect you from any kind of debris and things like that you might run into while you're out on the trail. Both of these shoes did a good job in keeping my feet both dry as well as cool while I was out running. Now let's talk about the fit of these uppers. Now, they're completely different in terms of their lacing system as well as the tongue. And those are critical components to making you feel locked in and secure when you're out running. So let's take a close look at those differences. When we look at the New Balance, you can see that they have a more traditional lacing system. They do have that yellow cord that runs up along the eyelet chain, and the laces go over the top of that cord. And that helps just keep those laces in place. So when you cinch them down, they pretty much stay right in place. Now, Nike, on the other hand, have a more complex lacing system, and you can see that they have tabs. Now, this is somewhat reminiscent for me of the Pegasus 37 road shoe that they have. But when we get up towards the top of that eyelet chain, they've got a couple of loops up there. And what you can't see from the outside is those lacing systems, those go down into that midfoot or arch area on the inside of the tongue. Now, that creates a slightly different feeling underfoot. Now, both did, I think, a great job in just making me feel locked in on that midfoot on the shoes. However, there is, like I said, a big difference in how they accomplish that. Also, the tongues are completely different on these shoes. Now, the tongue on the New Balance is a semi-gusseted tongue, so you don't have to worry about it migrating around at all. On the Nike Trail 2, that's a full gusset. Really, it's more of a booty-like construction, and so you can see that those laces or that looping system that I mentioned earlier, now that runs down the side of the shoe in between that booty construction and the outside of the upper material. So both are comfortable. Both of the tongues laid flat on my foot. I think they did a terrific job. They just went about it completely differently. Turning now and looking at the padding around the heel collar as well as the tab of these shoes, you can see that Nike's padding is much more concentrated around that collar as well as the tab, while New Balance is a much more traditional style of padding. Of the two, I preferred the New Balance. I just felt like it was a little bit more comfortable. You'll also notice that extra material around the Nike shoe. Now that is a mini or faux gaiter, so it's not a full gaiter. But I did find that it did a pretty decent job in keeping the debris and some of the rocks that I might be kicking up from falling into my shoe. So it did do a good job that way. Both of the heel counters in these shoes have a pretty good amount of structure. I'd say they're pretty equivalent that way. And each of them have the added feature of a pull tab. Although I did find that the New Balance was a little easier or user-friendly, while the Nike, it just there wasn't quite enough room for me to be able to get my finger in there to really help me get that shoe on. It was adequate, but not necessarily convenient. Also, while we're talking about the heel counter, in terms of feeling locked in and secure with my heel cup area, I felt a little bit loose in the Nike. It didn't seem to matter how tight I cinched down that midfoot. That felt good. I just didn't feel like I was setting solidly in that heel cup. I think that New Balance did a little bit better job in addressing that. Now let's take a look at the midsole on these shoes, and we have racked foam versus the Fresh Foam X midsole materials. With the Nike, we have a 31 millimeter stack height in the heel and a 21 millimeter stack height in the forefoot for a 10 millimeter offset. Now it is highly cushioned. It offers a good deal of protection underfoot while you're out running, but so does the New Balance. The New Balance has a slightly more foam underfoot with their Fresh Foam X material. They have a 34 millimeter stack height in the heel and a 30 millimeter stack height in the forefoot for a 4 millimeter offset. As I mentioned, both are highly cushioned. Both offer a lot of protection underfoot. I'd say between the two, the New Balance has a little more cushion or a little bit softer underfoot while you're out running, but both felt really terrific. Now let's flip these shoes over and we'll take a look at the outsole. The lugs and the outsole on a trail shoe is critically important, and there's a big difference here. You'll see with the Nike that they have what they call a shockwave pattern, so that you can see the V on those lugs in the forefoot, and then it's almost an inverted V in the heel area. So You can dig in when you're going forward, and you have that V shape in the opposing direction in your heel, so it can kind of help slow you down, give you a little more traction, when you're going downhill. Now, in terms of the depth of the lugs, I'd say it's pretty equivalent on both of these shoes, but again, the difference is in the lugs themselves and the shape of them. With the New Balance, it's more of a symmetrical. You can see that those lugs are almost in a straight line, and there's more of them. And so consequently, what I found is the mud tends to pack in those lugs more on the New Balance than they do in the Nike Peg Trail 2 shoe. Now let's just talk about the performance and what it's like to run in these shoes. For a road to trail shoe, which these are, you're not going to pick up either one of these shoes probably to go on a technical trail run. But for my purposes and the types of running that I was doing out at my state park, they're perfect. I've got some pavement as well as some dirt roads, and the trails that I run on, they performed really well. I just felt like I could put in a lot of really comfortable miles on either one of these shoes. They felt really terrific underfoot, lots of cushion, very soft to run in. Between the two, I felt like the New Balance was a little more comfortable. It had the padding around the heel collar as well as the tab of the shoe felt really terrific. And I felt a little more locked in and secure in my heel area. But again, both of these shoes I thought did a really good job. But between the two, I think that the New Balance was a little better fit for me. Hey, I enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.